Welcome, gentlemen. Whatever brought you here, ladies watching afterwards, this is going to be on YouTube as well. Let me pause for a second. We're all going through this fascinating process called life. It's intense, isn't it? I mean, yeah, we've all learned how to put on a good face and show up and to the best of our ability, take care of things, manage. Most people talk about the ups and downs and this and that. At the same time, if we just take a moment to pause for a second, I think everybody would agree that it's a pretty fucking intense experience. And we have options, okay? We can do it by default, which is most likely to eventually bring us to places that could be significant struggles, or we can do it by design. You're here because you fit in the second category. You want to do it by design. And this new series is going to be very unique. It's from the heart, you know, that's what I feel compelled to share with the world. Everything has a beginning, and this is quite experimental, but I want to address deeper issues and matters in a more non-filtered, authentic manner that will really help you to take everything further. So on the poster, we have words like sex, God, death, war. Those are highly potent words, trigger words, you know, that could stir a lot of controversy, that could agitate, that could cause a lot of debate. And most people, you know, they're aware of those matters, and then they kind of hide from them a little bit, or they have very strong opinions about it. So I'm not here to share my own opinion. I'm here to share my own experience and help you along with your own experience. You know, I've been in the field of coaching, helping, assisting for quite some time. The other day, I showed up at that little spiritual store in the neighborhood, and they had a class going on that day about some readings. And they said, hey, you should stay for the class. I was not asking for anything, but you know, they probably were telling everybody there, hey, we have a class, you should stay for the class. And I said, I would love to, but I am teaching. And of course they asked, what is it that you're teaching? And I paused for a second. You know, sometimes I customize a little bit because you got to know when to do what for what reason. So sometimes the full explanation might be a little too much for some people. Sometimes I don't really care for them to know or not. Sometimes I feel playful, so I say something funny, you know. But here's what came to mind, and I think this is very accurate, and this explains the next level and where we're at. So as this new series grows and evolves, my answer was that, well, I'm one of the original guy in the pickup community. We've been helping guys to pick up women, get laid. And because we're hustlers and we paid our dues, it would be inevitable, coming from a place of honesty, that at some point we reach a place where it has to tap into the spiritual. Which reminds me, some time back, I was making a lot of progress because I really wanted to be successful in life. And yet, oftentimes, I don't know if you guys ever had that experience. I would feel like I was reaching a certain level of success, but then part of me would ask, is that all there is? The fulfillment that I thought would come from reaching that deeply desired level of success, once achieved, felt that it was missing something. At the time, one of my mentors, who's no longer, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, came up with a book saying there's a spiritual solution for everything in your life. Now, it's interesting because I thought everything. So then I started to contrast it with my own experience, and I thought, could that include sex? Could that include seduction? Now, if you go to people out there and start to combine God and sex, that's a very, very unique combination. So, in conclusion, to kind of launch into solutions and things that I have found very helpful, it's simple. We grow through life, no matter how we approach it. To not have an awareness of something bigger than ourselves would seem nearly impossible. My spiritual brother, Raj Japar motherfucking D Bazaar, made a very interesting point the other day. He said, currently I have my own perception of what's spiritual, what's not, and so on. But I bet you that during my last couple minutes on this planet, taking my very few last breath, I probably will say, please, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, something, help me. So it's inevitable, okay? Some people may ignore it for their whole lives, and it's inevitable. But I think that a more helpful starting point is first the realization that there is something very unique about spirituality and religion, because there's a tendency there for it to be imposed by people who are humans like us, but at the same time quickly affirm themselves as an authority. It is blended then with the fact that organized religion, as it even at some point would be what would rule over royalty in certain parts of Europe and the world, is then somehow in a very hypnotic manner being recognized as official, when in fact it's just people seeking and being creative in their seeking and eventually organizing it in a certain way, and all of that is pretty fucking awesome, okay? At the same time, it limits us a lot. Few are those who grew up in a certain religion or exposed to certain spiritual principles and feel at ease with it 100% and use it to truly better their lives. We don't want to do more of what has been crippling our access to something bigger than ourselves and a deeper level of meaning to life by, pointing the finger in the direction of people who point the finger. So we have to recognize, you can go anywhere, any place, any practice. There's always a few for whom it will be working, okay? Side note, I see somebody saying that it's Frank White, but I don't think that it is Frank White. So if this person could be muted and blocked, and if Chris, you could quickly check in with Frank White, and then perhaps invite Frank White, if he's up, to join us, okay? And if it reoccurs, just simply check in real quick with Frank, because that is not Frank putting that. So if you can block whomever is putting that, and if not, we'll just play with it. And also some stuff is coming in the chat. So anyway, there's always some distraction. There's always some irritation, and you're witnessing the birth of this. I will be flexible, and yet at the same time, there are things at this point that I wish to voice, and I will voice them, if two gather to listen, if 10 or 10,000, it doesn't matter to me, because it only makes sense to voice those things. So, to simplify, it's kind of imposed on us. Few are those for whom it really works. And then it cripples the rest of us, because at best, it may create a little unease where, For example, when I read that title, there's a spiritual solution for everything. Well, is there a spiritual solution then for sex? You know, how would people respond to that? So then it leads us to the next key point, which I think to go further and beyond and to really grow individually and also at the level of the planet globally, it's very, very important I'm being a little bit distracted because it looks like somebody very, very young is watching. This is restricted to 18 and over, just so you know. Okay, Chris, you're gonna have to be vigilant with this one, I can tell. It's very interesting. Okay, so, and then I will open it, we'll address any matter, bring up some questions and so on. We're gonna have guests also for some future episodes. But for the time being, the next level is to know that it is a personal choice and one that will help you and take you further when we remove, peel off any prior pollution, any prior pollution. Because think about it, there's a source to all things. Now, is that source present in certain places and absent elsewhere? Then what is where that source isn't? What is there where that source isn't? So then if it is really absolutely everywhere, it's available for everyone. And for me, my own personal experience, and I don't know what yours was like or has been like, and I'd be curious to find out, has often been that my dreams, my aspiration would grow bigger, but then they would start to shrink if I would look at them through the peephole of the perception imposed by others for a variety of reasons: manipulation, control, superstition, ignorance. And then when it comes to making progress in life at all levels, money, health, wealth, and so on, you try on your own. You didn't give yourself birth on your own. Something activated all of that. But then to have that strange relationship with that something that is activating the process of being alive in a way where sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, can be very confusing. And of course, we tend to move away from confusion. We don't go and press through it and charge forward to experience more clarity. So then we tiptoe, missing out on the fact that we're surrounded by miracles. And what is it right now that's watching? Yes, I know it's you and you have a name, and so I do. So do I. But what is watching? What is speaking? What is activating the fingers? What is activating the lips? What created the lips? What came up with that whole process of formulating words to describe things, and then vocal cords and lungs and air and the lips and sound and ears? So at all levels, learning, thriving in your business, thriving with your pickup, improving any and everything, we're missing out when we try to do it without acknowledging that there's a force at work. We then further miss out if we do acknowledge that there's a force at work, but it's only there sometimes and not other times. So my goal with this first episode is to help you to find for yourself a spirituality that truly works for you, that's not limiting, that's not frightening, that's not on and off, but that really fuels you in a way that's non-denominational, that it's not going to just fuel you if you want to do some charity work somewhere, but would judge you if you say, yeah, I want to do pickup, you know, I want to be one of those guys like Hugh Hefner. So many questions come to mind, and yet for you, Here's a couple little recommendation exercises, and then I want to interact with you guys to let me know where you're at. What would help you? What's the next level of growth? When you hear the word God, what do you think about? Does it make you laugh? Do you find it scary? What is it about for you? So I think step one is to begin to peel off so you have greater access to those resources that are omnipresent all around us. To begin to peel off any preconceived notion till you can genuinely feel that you're tapping into something more organic, that really a higher power that juices you, that strengthens you, that inspires you, that you feel is there for you, that makes your life easier. Okay? So since you guys are on, you know, I want to also find out a little bit more from you, where you're at, ideas on what I can do to help you. So let's toss a couple of questions. You can type them or unmute and voice them.
Yeah, what if that bigger power that we tap into is channeled through our coach? Is it still organic if we find inspiration from a guru?
Why wouldn't it be?
Because it's not being generated from the self. It's like coming from outside.
Okay. Now, then we go back to a frame of mind. Super good point. I love to start to interact, you know, because part of me is also very considerate, you know. I love to voice, to coach, and at the same time, I want to make sure that it is of service to you guys. So let's do a little exercise, okay? Originated from within. Where is that originated from? Within. But that's also within the universe and within all options included in the universe. So yeah, originated from within. Now, originated from without, through somebody else. In the bigger picture, is that absent from the universe or is it present in the universe? It's present in the universe. And if it is present in the universe, it is part of the universe. So then it's absolutely fine. So we no longer split. There's cause and effect. So that's great headways there. Thank you so much for this question. Because then the exercise would be, okay, name one thing around you or about you or within you that's not part of the universe. Impossible. It's all included. Now, here's the challenge. If you pursue some dreams, goals, desires, and they include a variety of steps to take, all parts of the process, including the idea, is all included within the universe. So that's the liberation we're talking about. Because then it's more spacious. The idea is it's not limited to just one flavor, one type. It will eradicate any form of judgment towards others because all is included. I joked around, but it's true. You know, I remember I went to the Avian convention in Las Vegas, also known as the porn convention. Some of you guys have gone there with me. And then the question came up, wow, is God not here? And there were people passing those little booklets saying, Jesus loves porn stars. So I thought, wow, what an interesting concept. Then for a moment I paused and I noticed a lot of goodness around me, a lot of, you know, cheerfulness among people, a lot of, and I thought, okay, if I didn't know the context here, and I contrasted it with other contexts where people gather, this is a truly encouraging, organic contest here. Okay, people were upbeat, open. There was a sense of connection, and so on. So then I thought, what if I found enlightenment here? And where can we find enlightenment? Do we have to find it on top of a mountain? Do we have to find it in a church? Or can't we find it anywhere, everywhere? So we're exposed to those very limiting ideas about it that may have some wonderful elements. I think it's important to also have a personal compass. Okay? At some point, I wanted to study different religions, and it wouldn't be honest to say that if you isolate certain part, at least for me, there's also the person for whom all of it really makes you feel like you're expanding. Because in the universe, you know, I heard a friend of mine speak today, and I was like, wow, it resonated so much. You guys have heard me say that for a long time. At the core, everything is energy, and energy will either expand or contract. So if it makes us feel a sense that we're really expanding, then it is really expanding. I'm being distracted. So, okay, Chris?
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. What else? Toss questions at me, gentlemen.
There's a question from Richard in the chat box. He asks, what are some good examples of being spontaneously humorous?
Say it again.
What are some good examples of being spontaneously humorous?
Okay, so we're going to infuse some of the principles shared so far in answering this question. Okay? There too, there's a divide. There's the lack of recognition of oneness and omnipresence around us. So the question is a presupposition that it's not already within you and already all around you. Think about how often we are spontaneous. If we really pay attention, even during that pause, you did a couple of things spontaneously. Some of them were that, like Chris, you're tilting your head right now. Did you go, okay, in a moment, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tilt my head like that. So I'm talking about the spirituality, and maybe we should even give it a different name, that recognizes that there is a force that's at the core of all things, that sustains all things, and that is in everything. And when you become more aware of it without blocking it by other people's superstition, limitation, filtering, and so on, you then have constant contact with it. But it takes some work, because at first, you know, for example, if we used to enter a church and we have to be all quiet, and people kind of talk like that, and people voice things like that, then as we aim towards accessing more of the God force so we can thrive in every possible way, maybe even when we think about it, we go, wow, I better not be so loud about it. Is that okay, God? Okay? When in fact, the part that wonders, is that okay? That's God right there. The part that looks up, any part, it's within it. Somebody shared with me the interesting metaphor the other day. If you have the ocean, all creatures, rocks, elements that are part of the ocean are in the ocean. So what if we are in an ocean of Godness, that we're surrounded by it, within it, passes through us, up, down, all directions, known and unknown to mankind. Now, at that point, there's instant access any time, any place. All ideas that are yet to come, even if they take 100 years or 1,000 years within the context of the universe, already exists. So it wouldn't take much to tap into them. From that perspective, try to not be spontaneous. Try to not be humorous. In order to recognize our way around, we use a model of operation that has to describe in detail, separate things, and we get so used to it that we see God as one thing and we forget we're in it, it's here. And then we have a vague idea of humor and being spontaneous, and we put it out there without realizing that we are very, very often already in it. So it's a revelation. It's dropping all curtains and having instant access to way more resources. What within you is saying that you are not already spontaneous? And would that be true? Never been spontaneous. I was doing a session with a gentleman the other day, and he said, I never had a friend at first. And through the session, he realized that was not true. Does that make sense, Richard? So there are specific techniques, recommendations, but you got to make sure that you grant yourself access to them by not obstructing, by opening your mind to more. Is it starting to make sense? Those are new concepts, not so new, but to voice them in a way that makes sense and they come across in a way that's helpful to you. So what are the questions? I like that Q&A format to refine the understanding.
Question from William. How can we tap into the spiritual force in our pickup and sexual activities?
I think step one is to begin to remove any limitation. So categorize first what would cause a limited perception of God. Okay? One of them would be ignorance. So a great exercise would be to ask yourself, if you never heard about the concept of God up until now, and you were free to connect with it in your own ways without any limitations whatsoever, then that may help you to start to detect the element of ignorance that's present in the concepts of God that you have been exposed to up until now. Now, the second key ingredient would be superstition. So to peel off any element of superstition, and then any element of manipulation or trying to control. And then to also observe. Wherever you witness a little bit of a higher level of consciousness, if you think of some demonstrations of wisdom, and without putting them on a pedestal, some of the people that you encounter that appear to be a little wiser, would you say that there's an increase of judgment, hatred, anger, and rigidity the higher you go on the scale of wisdom and consciousness, or that it's a decrease of it? My experience has been it's a decrease. It's a little more fluid. If you start wrestling with a challenge or problem, and at first you go, nothing can be done about it. I hate this. Why is it always like that? And then suddenly you start to infuse a little bit more wisdom. guaranteed your thinking will be a little more spacious. Spacious makes it a little more gracious. Now contrast that with the sense of something that's judgmental, something that will criticize you. So infusing that in your pickup, that broader, wiser perception, then would consist of being more encouraging of yourself, of no longer thinking limitation, thinking option, no longer experiencing any agitation. There is a sense of God within all of us. There's a seeking, even if we seek the explanation towards thinking that, no, there's no God. That which seeks the explanation in that direction is still coming from a place of an awareness that questions whether there's something or not. Yet we tend to filter it through our own eyes, human eyes. And then we pollute it with emotions that only exist for humans. See, what would cause a person, for example, to be a little anxious? There's two main reasons why we would ever get anxious when you think about it. Yeah? Reason number one is because we recall something that happened in the past and we're concerned that more of it may come. So it makes us a little anxious. Prior reference concern us that they may come again. The second one, we project that something may happen because we don't know what's going to happen. We're unsure. Now, from the perspective of the universe, because it knows everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be, what happens to anxiety? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It would not be concerned when you get concerned, because since it knows before, during, and after, and it is omnipresent and in all things, and it was always there, and it will always be there, then why would it be concerned about something that may happen right now? Because in that timeline of infinity, here's another wonderful exercise. Make a list right now of any and everything that from the timeline of infinity, always, what no longer makes sense. Does it make sense to be angry? Does it make sense to be worried? All those lower energies, habits, thoughts no longer exist in that realm. So we can look at that realm from the limitations of those lower energies, which creates further agitation, fight, dependence, fear, worship, or we can look at those lower energies from that higher realm that is free of them, so we then cancel them. Another great question, Bill. Whatever your own sense of it, because in a moment I'm going to backtrack and we're going to create a little practical system that guaranteed will help you boost your own sense of connection with everything that is greater, so you have greater access. You find a metaphor. For me, I've been a musician for years, so I can take a guitar with no amplification, or I can have stadium-like amplification with the same guitar. So now it goes further. It's amplified. So we'll make that list in just a moment. And yet a great question would be, there you are doing your pickup and you go, what if right now it wasn't me doing pickup? It would be the universe. Now, that's highly dependent on your sense of the universe. Then, what would no longer be there? How would the universe go about it? What concerns would the universe have or not? And then, all the obstructions are fading away. See, if today it rains, it rains. Do you think that some people may think, oh man, it's raining again? The universe wouldn't go, oh man, it's raining again. Somebody stop the water. The day after it rained, the universe is not going to go, oh no, why did it rain yesterday? So take that as a model, an example, okay? And if last night you spoke to girls, and since this is open to everybody, girls, something happened with a guy that stirred you the wrong way or made you concerned or aggravated or worried, from that perspective of the universe, is it even valid to blame yourself or the other person? Blame, shame, guilt, gone. So let's turn this thanks to your questions that are really, really, really awesome. It took me a second to warm up, you know. This is a new idea in the making, you know. So we're finding a flow. Here it is. 5 steps to find your own true sense of spirituality that really, really serves you and that's organic for you. Okay? So, start with tossing a word, almost like in a conversation. If suddenly you have a group of people and you go, God, okay? And you have different responses. What are your own responses? Universe, God. What starts to come to mind? It's probably a blend of a few things. So that's step 1. Put it out there, see what comes up. Zero judgment. Just as an observation. No fear either. No resentment. Just okay. In life, there's money on this planet, there's relating with others, there's having a career. Comes some point where, what about the spiritual? Yeah, what about the spiritual? So, what's your take on it? And then you start to clean house a little bit. And step 2 is you begin to peel off, to refine it, to optimize it. For that, you need a couple ideas, couple references. Within that second step, I give you 2 ideas, 2 references that I personally found have helped me a lot. A timeline, okay? Within that, it was always there, it's always here, it's everywhere, and it will always be there. Then, what is no longer valid? What concerns are no longer there? The other one, in the escalation of higher levels of consciousness and exposure to wiser ideas, people, and so on, do you find that it shrinks or that it tends to expand and open doors? So from there, draw your own conclusions, and it's beyond conclusion. Have your own realizations that are helpful to you. And those realizations might be like, hey, if you take 2 little kids fighting and they get upset at each other, they're probably going to go like, why did you do that to me? He's been mean to me. No, she's mean. There's going to be a lot of blame, a lot of like feeling like a victim, a lot of being bitter about it, maybe plotting revenge. And okay, now you take 2 of the wisest individuals you have ever known, without omitting the option of exercising strength when and how it might be needed. Do you think there'd be a little less of that? So from that perspective, step 2, you fine tune. And it's a process, it's ongoing. Then step number 3, okay, would be pay attention to assumption of presence or omission. And there too, you clean house. Where is it? When is it there? And how is it there? And where is it? And when is it not there? And how is it not there? Till you come to the realization that automatically it's omnipresent. So if you combine those three things, now you start to infuse that. Money, for example, from that realm of spirit, concerns about money. No, because through that timeline and with greater wisdom, what happened to the concern? It's not there anymore. And then step 4, re-examine where and when you omitted that omnipresence in your own equation. And step number 5 is find a way to describe it that really works for you, empowers you, juices you. And then come full circle, so you're not doing an exclusion, where if you do hear the name, then you no longer hear it from a place of limitation, you hear it from a place of ultimate expansion. I pass it back to you, gentlemen.
I number closed this chick like 2 weeks ago at a nightclub, right? And then there was a back and forth exchange that was going on the day after. And then I caught myself overthinking about it like way too much. And I was almost like frozen in this this state of inaction. It's like, oh, what do I text? Is this the right thing to text? And I was like, what the hell? I wasn't this nervous when I approached her, but for some reason, like my mind or my being or whatever is overthinking this this back and forth text exchange. Do you have any tips to mediate that, or any exercises you can recommend to liven up my ability to text back right away?
You gave a lot of information. I want to backtrack a little bit. So let's I pass it back to you. So say it once again.
All right. So about 2 weeks ago, I number closed a chick at a nightclub. And then the day after, we were texting back and forth. And during the back and forth text exchange, I caught myself overthinking too much, right? Like,
when did the overthinking start?
When I was writing the text. Is this the right thing to?
Are you sure? What was there before that?
What was there before that? I guess before.
When you number closed her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like wind and the tree?
Wind, then the tree.
See, if wind is blowing, wind doesn't go like, oh, there's that tree over there. Wind doesn't go, oh no, that tree is not moving. Oh, let me go for that tree because it's smaller, it's easier. And the tree doesn't go, oh no, here's the wind. There is just the experience of it.
Yeah.
So to bring the benefits of a broader spirituality from the get-go, you detect first and then drop sooner any tendency to want to qualify and assess what's happening. And you become even more natural by going through the motion without an explanation. Because you detect it later. I can tell it's there sooner. It's there from even before. And why is it there? Because there are residues of fear. And they start to pollute. And eventually they feel it. See, the universe does not come from fear. It does not know that. The universe doesn't fear like, ooh, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. I hope it's not going to go wrong. It is.
Okay.
So infuse that mindset from the get-go, detect it, and refrain from at any point thinking that anything is going against you.
Okay.
When it rains in nature, why does it rain?
Because water is absorbed by the clouds, and then precipitation occurs.
Yeah, and
Yeah. And then it gets to water the life vegetation, trees, grass.
so imagine along the process that you described very well, better than me. I couldn't have described it that well. Okay? Imagine at some point the universe stops and goes, oh no, oh no, oh no. It knows that it's leading somewhere. And it doesn't see sunshine as greater than rain. They're just different modes, cause and effect. So you got to, it's a form, in a way, it's being a little more patient. Here's the experimentation, okay? From the get-go, you got to set aside any investment to, oh, I'm going out because I want to get a girl. Set that aside. And you go, I'm going to follow a flow. And at no point, no matter where the flow goes and leads me, I'm going to decide I'm just going to further that flow and stay with it and ride it no matter where it goes. And maybe the flow, just like in nature, a flower starts with a void. We need space. You cannot push a seed on something that's solid. So there needs to be a little space for it to be planted. Then there's the dirt, all sorts of little creatures. Then often we put fertilizer on it, and then it rains, and then this, and then that. So the process is very non-linear. We don't stop and go, no, something's going wrong. There's worms around it. No, something's going wrong. It's raining. No, wait, it's supposed to be a flower and you're putting crap on it. Wrong, stop it. We just witness the flow till full blossom. And then the recycling goes further, because as the petals eventually fade and fall, then they serve the dirt. So in nature, all is recycled. Now, initially, you may think that it's supposed to be, there's that girl, I get a number, I text her, I feel good about it, and it goes somewhere. Now, for you to be where you want to be to do that, and where you need to be to do that, the process is a different flow. You get hopeful, it doesn't quite happen. You get doubtful, that doubt stirs you, you get a little fed up, and now you listen a little more attentively, or you give in just a little bit more, which in itself takes you further than if, let's say, girl number one had given you the number. See, right now, everybody could be the guy that married their high school sweetheart. And if you're not too far from high school, it may still be pretty happy and fun. But if, let's say, Richard, you had married your high school sweetheart right now, what kind of wedding anniversary would you have? What would it be? How many years? How many times would you have had meals next to each other? It may still be beautiful, but would you tonight go, oh, I got to be on this live stream? Maybe because you would be fed up and you would want something else. So trust the process, trust the flow. It's a form of meditation in action. Same thing with money, cash, you name it, career. Again, at the core, the Course in Miracles had explained, we come from one of two places, faith or fear. They're just words. For some, you hear faith and you think automatically religion, church. So refine. But it's either coming from a place of positive expectation or negative expectation. And the moment you come from negative expectation, that agitation causes you to doubt too often, too much, too soon, to carry doubt in it, and too frequently. And it perpetuates itself. And now when you detect that it perpetuated itself, you think that's where the crisis and the challenge was. When in fact, if you just can put it out there without having to put the brakes. Trust it more, take it further. That's again, like in the spiritual realm. The Buddhists would always say we have 4 selves: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. I think that we're so involved with the world and the world with us that we should add practical also. So there's the practical self. It's like a 5-point star, and each one of them impacts the others. So at the spiritual, since we're talking about that, again, encourage you to come back to, if the universe was doing that pickup right now, what concerns would not be there? And from that place of non-concern, you operate more freely, and automatically in pickup, it goes further. Because fear generates fear.
So is the practice of eradicating fear, does it come from awareness, or is there like a step-by-step process to come to terms with it?
We need to dig a little deeper there, just a touch. Because speaking of fear, it can create a lot of deviations. And then deviations lead to explanations. And explanations, unless they're right on, aligned with the truth, they lead to further deviation. And then the difference is insane. We're aiming to go north and we're way south, or vice versa. So watch the explanation right there. Eradicate, I don't know if that's the word. That's a powerful word. The starting point should be the letting go of sorting things. That's good, that's bad. I want this, I don't want that. At that level, at the restaurant, yeah, go, oh no, that food is bad. Oh, I want another cup of water. I don't want this. Any choice at the material level, yeah, you're entitled to take what you like and not what you don't like. So it's important to know good, bad, I like, I don't. You should never be dependent on those things. But at the level of what happens and is there within your being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to refrain from assessing that it should not be there initially and that it's bad, gives you more freedom to work with it, play with it, and let it flow. So what is it that's even bigger than fear? And it could be many things, it's not just one answer. But what is it that's bigger than fear? And when that's present, what happens to fear? Yeah. So one way to eradicate, to use your own words, is to focus on what takes care of it. How do we eradicate darkness? By turning on the light. And then to learn how to recognize things in a new way. For example, tonight's streaming. It's in the making. It's a process. It's leading somewhere, tapping into deeper, higher matters, coming to assistance to more, different angle than just, okay, here's eye opener and so on, which is beautiful. Now, there is a certain energy that I've experienced through it on my side that would almost feel like an apple that's not fully ripe. But if I start to resist that, I miss out on something greater in the making. So creation, since we're talking about the force and source of creation, does not make any omissions. Creation does not make any omission. Like in improvisation, the secret rule is yes. Whatever happens, yes, I flow with it, I go with it, I am with it. So if you want to create for yourself a better life, let everything that's there be part of your creation and work for you. You can do so many things. You can imagine you grab your fear and you put it behind you. And now your fear is behind you to propel you forward, to move forward more ferociously. Okay, gentlemen, I thank you so much for your participation. Okay? We'll do this every Wednesday. The format is being designed as we go. Let people know about it. We're going to talk about all sorts of different angles. And I know that everybody present, I will see you this weekend for a tune. Meanwhile, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody.